could see the Lions winning 13 games, and then we don't have that at all. So
Oh,
I know
really?
that's sort of a wishy-washy answer. Sure, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I've tried to do, because you have Jordan Love as such an important quarterback in terms of handicapping the division, is just figuring out, okay, who do I trust the most as far as head coaching, play calling, all of that stuff. There's a case to be made for the Packers, and that's why, like, in terms of being a value play, that's why I took it. There's also a
Hmm.
good, there's a good argument to be made that Ben Johnson, play caller for the Lions, that might make sense too. One thing that came up from at football_insights that I think is really important here. One of the best ways to put your best wide receiver in a position to succeed in is to have them get matched up against a non-defensive back. So if you can get a great wide receiver going up against a linebacker because you designed it that way, good things tend to happen. And last season, in terms of the highest target frequency versus non-defensive backs, Amon-Ra St. Brown led the way. So I look at this and say, okay, even if the Lions weren't the most talented, boy, they're going to put their receivers in positions to succeed. Maybe you don't just love Jared Goff as the best quarterback in that division, but if there's more play action, I hate to say that any quarterback can be successful in that system, but at least Jared Goff is adequate enough to make that work. I see those little tidbits and nuggets here and there, and I go, there's a case that the Lions can just go off. Not a bet that I want to make, but at least it makes
Sure.
sense to me.
Where we could have a draft, let's say a show draft, and everybody could make a case. Okay, here's your pick, make your case. Fourth pick, and this is the team you're stuck with, make your case. And I think it's legitimate. The case for the Bears, the long shot at plus 450 at BetMGM, is obviously building around Fields, and Fields takes off. That's what it is. Fields is great, right? And the defense is not the worst in the league. They're closer to the middle of the pack with the additions that they've made, even though I don't think they're there. The offensive line is not there either at the moment, but they are working on it. The Vikings, yeah, of course they're not going to win 13 games again. Of course not. I think not only the rabid fan bases with the Lions and the Bears, the reason that they lead the way most bet on teams to win their division. I think everybody sees exactly what we're talking about. It is wide open. Anybody can win it. Here, make an opinion. Go ahead. Pick a team. There's value just about everywhere. I think I've heard people make the case that there's value on Minnesota. At plus, you can find a 290 out there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really. You have Justin Jefferson. Now you've got Addison on that offense. They don't think they're going to lose a ton without Cook. And the defense can only go in one direction. So, yeah, maybe. And how many wins is it going to take to win the division? 9? It's a possibility that 9 ends up winning. And going from 13 down to 9 wins is regression. But you can still win the division even if you do regress, if you're Minnesota. And the Lions have the most talented roster. The Packers, yeah, the upside is there. It's just they have no experience. Like, look at the depth chart and look how many names are highlighted, meaning they're rookies. It's everywhere. I don't know how many rookie receivers they're going to roll with actual playing time. It's kind of scary, but also that means maybe they can get things going, and we don't know what Jordan Love is, and that's why there's so much value on the Packers. So yes, your premise that you can make a case. If I'm making a bet, I'm not betting on the Lions. The Bears' offensive line right now, it scares me. They still have work to do on the defensive side of the ball. They'll be better, but I'm looking at 8-9 wins. The win total 7.5. They could go over the win total, but winning the division, I'm not there. Yeah, I can't doubt your Packers play, and you could still find them plus 400. I totally understand where you're coming from. Do you think it's a division where we're going to revisit it throughout the season? Like, okay, the Packers just lost a couple, and now they're 8-1. Are they worth a play now? Or this team is now 10-1, that where maybe it goes down to the very end?
I do like the Falcons, but that's kind of been bet down. I
Yeah.
had them around
People
plus
love
300.
people are all in on the Falcons. Yeah.
Oh my God! But when you said that, I was talking about this before the draft and stuff, and people were making fun of me. They're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, okay." It's like, no, 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 seriously. But yeah, I think they're around like what plus 200, yeah, plus 180 right now. I see it on the screen. That has been one of my favorite bets. I like the Seahawks as well as maybe just a 49ers don't figure out the quarterback and offensive line gets banged up. Oh, Nick Bosa, there's some whispers with the Nick Bosa stuff. So it's like, okay, maybe they just have kind of uneven season. I still think 49ers will be good. But I do like the Seahawks, and I think you can get a decent number there. Yeah, plus 190. I was about to say about around plus 200. And if you just want to throw like a home run swing or just like a real, just like, hey, shoot, why not? It's the Packers in the NFC North. And that is just a bet on Jordan Love and really just a Bears don't figure it out. Lions stay kind of the same. I think everyone's expecting like this huge improvement for the Lions, and I think they're more going to stay the same. So like more like a 9-8 team. Like I think that's fine, but I just don't think I didn't see the overwhelming support maybe this offseason. And then the Vikings, I think, are kind of going to be, I called it Uncle Regression on the show. I said Father Sky, Mother Earth, and dear old Uncle Regression. That I think the Vikings, they were like an 8-win team last year. So even if they improve, that's more like a 9-win team. So I don't know. I'm just betting on Jordan Love, and I think he has shown decent things. And I'm actually pretty optimistic about him. Just recently talked about him. He's shown some stuff, and they have some interesting young players. They have a really good offensive line, which can keep you in games if you're built that way.
There are a handful of games that are moving, like a ton of moves here before the season really kicks into high gear here. What is the biggest discrepancy you see from the current point spread and your numbers? What you have these games at? Is there anything just screaming like, okay, just based on your numbers, you think a bet should be made here?
Yeah, and again, I don't necessarily put I don't say I recommend this bet, but you do have my numbers. They're out there. You can see them, and people can use them for what they are. One that has been moving has been the Purdue-Fresno State game, moving towards Fresno State. My numbers like Purdue by about 6. I think in that game, it was 6.5 for a long time during the summer here. And now as the game time has gotten closer and closer, it's creeping closer and closer to Fresno State. I think it maybe is like -3 or 3.5 right now, maybe. If it gets much closer to 3, I think Purdue has some significant value there based on my numbers, because it's not just, what are the projected strengths of these teams. It's also Fresno State's coming across 3 time zones, and this is a noon Eastern kick. So they're playing this game at 9 local. It's the first game for Ryan Walters, head coach at Purdue. I think the fans are going to be excited. It's going to be a tough environment. Winning on the road is the toughest thing to do in college football. I say that all the time. Doesn't matter who you are and where you're going. It's hard. So that's one that the line movement's kind of surprising to me, and it's getting to the point where my numbers would suggest maybe there is some value as it crosses some key numbers there.